Welcome back to the Touching Bases podcast. We are here for another Mariners Monday. Today, joining me is T from East Coast M's. His links will be down in the description below. We're going to be talking ball and just probably a lot of other BS things going around the entire baseball world as we are, a couple days away from spring training. Pitchers and catchers meet, and I know plenty of people are going to be heading down there as well to kind of do some coverage, but at least from the Mariners atmosphere, it's like we're walking into 2024 all over again. So T, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Can't wait to talk some ball and talk some more Mariners frustrations.
Yeah, Mariners. Yeah, exactly. I know. And the last week on the Mariners Monday, we had Colby and Colton, and it was a lot of like eye rolling and just like, God, I can't believe we're dealing with this stuff. And then it's just like, well, we should be expecting it at this point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we have this same non excitement every single year. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, during the trade deadline last season, I was kind of happy. Justin Turner, Randy Rosarena, but
Yeah.
I
But
didn't
of course,
expect to milk it until this year.
literally. And you got Randy Rosarena in the season where he's probably having his worst season yet, which he did still come and obviously produce. But you definitely need prime Randy Rosarena back this coming year, not what he did last year.
He did better in Seattle. Like his numbers in Tampa Bay were 215 batting average and some odd amount of home runs, and then I understand it was like 2 months, but in Seattle, like he got those numbers up. He got to 247 batting average. I know the first 2 weeks everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Like we just trade for this guy. Like, ew. Like maybe the deal was fair because we didn't give up much.
Not at all.
So
But
I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah, that's going to be a big question mark all around the board because you need a handful of guys that you need to bounce back from 2024. Otherwise, it's going to be very much a repeat of what we experienced. Like they have to bounce back. You have, I mean, the list goes on. JP, Mitch Garver, like a bunch of guys that have to bounce back in order for this team really to take the offense to the next level.
well, he seems super confident. I mean, Jerry's gaslighting, but I mean, the way he says it, it's like people who aren't following this closely.
Yeah.
Like you're really that confident in those guys to bounce back this next year? And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like Garver, it's like, okay, I'll give him a shot. You signed him for 2 years, and he has a track record of like good year, bad year, good year, bad year. So last year was bad.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe this year, but you take Jorge Polanco. I mean, honestly, look at this team. Like, what do we do? We replace Turner with Solano. And that's literally all we've done.
Basically, 100%. It's the same team.
Lost Rojas, which that's debatable, I guess, if it's a loss. Defensively, it's a loss, but offensively,
no.
But he's still batted better than Polanco, right?
Batting average, yeah. But obviously, Polo brings more pop.
If he can use it. That's another thing is like his injury.
No, literally. That's if he can be healthy, you're talking about like I have a decent feeling that he's going to do better than he did last year. But that injury can come back at any point, and then all of a sudden he's out for a huge amount of time, and then what?
Because I mean, I know from my understanding, I don't know if all a lot of football, but like the people I know that have had patella tendon like reconstruction. I don't know the extent of his surgery or what it was. It probably wasn't that bad just because of the fact that he played through it the entire season.
Exactly.
But they don't return. They're never the same. Of course, that's football. I get it. And putting him at third, maybe he doesn't need to. It's ironic when I look at his baseball reference that he's a shortstop, second baseman, first positions, not third. And I'm
for Josh.
No, sorry, for Polanco.
Oh. Yeah, I think I did some research on it. It wasn't I know it's very minimal time at third base, not at all, if any. It was like
any right now.
77 innings, I think it was, or something like that. It was not a lot at all. Yeah. And then some shortstop, but very minimal too. Obviously, he's a second baseman. That's what he's done most of his career.
It's a good position to be at, though, because there's not a lot of competition.
True. But his splits across the board were not good. Like, no matter what position he played, I think he was 0 or negative in almost everything, no matter where he played.
I'm trying to see if I can do a comparison.
Here we go. I have the second base. He's played third base for 180 innings in his career.
At the pro level?
Yes, 103 of those were in 2023.
Huh.
The Twins.
Was he just covering for Royce? Is that why? Royce
Probably, yeah,
Lewis, I'm going
probably.
to guess.
But I mean, 0 outs above average, 0 FRB. So as long as he's not in the negative, I guess we'll take it because he's literally negative in everything else. He does not have a single positive outs above average, or sorry, he has in 2017 he had a 1 outs above average at shortstop.
How about this? Here you go. Direct. I got that stat head. If I'm paid for it, I better use it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just last season. Of course, I can probably do career, and this will flip flop
Yeah.
significantly, but
100%.
Relatively same amount of plate appearances and at bats. I mean, yeah, he's got more pop, but two triples. I mean, that the 21 extra bases with 8 home runs versus the 11 extra bases with 16 home runs. I mean, they're pretty on par.
Yeah.
And they're both terrible at being consistent at the plate.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
your OPS is, I mean, these guys were very much similar. I guess I understand letting go of Rojas for upgrading third base, but when at the end of the day, since your main plan was to bring these guys back and you're super excited to bring back Polanco, like what this doesn't say anything about excitement. If anything, you should have done the opposite. If you were
Yeah.
planning this, you should have brought back Rojas and then let Polanco go.
For the price
Because
point too.
yeah, exactly. How much did Josh Rojas sign with the White Sox? He's got to be.
It was not a lot. I don't remember the number though, because they didn't originally announce it. I don't think you had to like kind of go digging for it.
You probably don't want to say anything about that. Probably.
No,
It's probably not very much. I mean,
not at
just
all.
yeah.
But the thing with the Polanco thing is I know there was a lot of us that were kind of like in the toss up whether they should have just brought him back in the first place on the club option. And I was kind of leaning towards yes. I don't know why. But like even if you look at 2021, 2022, and 2023, like he put up 124, 118, and 117 WRC plus. So if he can even get back to 110 and play like a decent third base, it's worth it in my mind. But again, it's another if of what if.
That's another thing is that somebody mentioned somebody made a comment about Yon Makata and the and just comparison. In fact, it was on Ty Dane Gonzalez's Twitter. And I can even pull up the thread here just because it's a lot to, if I try to explain it verbally to you, it's not going to make a lot of sense. So initially it was the announcement that Ken Rosenthal put out after John Heyman posted it, just so we give the proper credit. I'm not a big fan of this guy, as everybody knows who follows my channel. But Yon Makata getting third base agreement with the Angels, which I talk about an active team in the AL West. They've been, I know they're not doing big signings or anything like that, and they're like massive trades. Although they did get Jorge Soler, and I don't think they needed Griffin Canning. And obviously, neither did the Braves. They DFA'd him as soon as it was just a salary dump for them.
Yeah.
But I think Jorge Soler will help them. But them adding Yon Moncada, basically saying like, well, Rendon's probably going to get hurt or a paper cut next week, so we should probably be prepared for him to be on the 60-day IL. With that said, I guess Cameron, ironically, I think I just followed this guy. He asked this question. He's like, would you rather have Polo for 1 year, 7.75, or Moncada for 1 year, 5 mil? Very similar player right now. Maybe if you got Yoan, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but for that cost, could have been used for 2.75 million on a reliever. I mean, you got a good point when you read something like this and you're talking about needing bullpen depth, which we really do. We only have 2 left-handers in our bullpen. And one of them had a really bad year last season. It fell down like Devin over here mentioned. Like, would you rather? I would rather have Moncada, and it's not close. But I think that's I think that's a bad take, and that's why I replied with this one.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of him, but if you were to give me what you just said, 4 years of, or just in the worst year, which specifically I pulled this up, and that is 2017. I don't count 2020. It's not a
Sure.
full season. I
Yeah.
am not
Sure.
counting that.
No. Right.
2017 was his worst season. He batted
Mhm.
257, slugged 410, had a 92 OPS plus, and he still hit 13 home runs with 30 doubles and 3 triples. I will take that with a 1.4 WAR over any of the last, honestly, 4 seasons of
Yeah.
Yoan Moncada, which is 244, slugging 395, and
Yeah.
it's an average per season of 9 home runs. Like, I am 1000% taking Polanco at that point. Of course, there were
Yeah.
some responses, and then I went back and forth with him, but in the end, I was just like, I am not mad at Polanco for his performance this last season. I'm a little bit more upset at the organization on the Twins side of things because they knew he was injured.
Yeah.
They had to. They
100%.
knew. They
Yep.
dumped him off. There wasn't much that was sent over. It was one of those like, we don't really need him. We
Mhm.
got we got our guys. We got Correa. We got Royce Lewis. We have our infield. We have guys coming up as well. He's injured. Let's send him off. And I think Polanco, I would give him credit for saying like, I'm hurting, but if I go out now,
Yeah.
right after the trade, like, there's not going to be any respect for me,
No.
because then you have an entire season where you just didn't play because you're injured, and you got, you didn't, it's like you didn't even try. It's like, oh, I got traded, like,
Yeah.
new team for the first time in what, 10 years? Like,
Yeah.
my tendon's bad, like, can't play, sorry guys. And
Yeah.
then you run into that club option. I mean, he had something to lose, obviously, which
Yeah.
was
100%.
getting released. It happened
Totally.
anyways, but then
Yeah.
he came back. But um, I also respect him for not joining the Astros, because it sounds like they were in on him.
Yeah. They
And
seem like to be the favorites, no?
what
For
was
the
that?
most part. They seem to be one of the heavy favorites for him.
Yeah, they're apparently going to offer him a lot more money too.
Yeah.
A lot more, as in like a couple mil here and
Yeah.
there. But I think the incentives for the Mariners side of things probably drew him in, and plus he didn't want to move again.
Yeah. I'm sure.
um, Plus, I mean, he did have a year experience with the Mariners in that
Mhm.
rivalry, so maybe he just kind of chose that side. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, hopefully he can bounce back. I think at third will be better, because defensively you're not going to really have to worry about that. Given, I think more organizations, when they show up, at least for home games coming to
Mhm.
Seattle, they know that right field is the place to hit the ball. It
Yeah.
dies in left field. And so you have a bunch of righty pitchers in your rotation. So you're going to throw
Sure.
lefties up there more often than not. And given
Mhm.
that, there's going to be more pull, there's going to be less balls hit the third base. So I think it's more of
Yeah.
a safer move for him to
Yeah.
move to third base. But I still don't think it excuses the front office from literally doing pretty much nothing this
Nothing.
offseason. In
Yeah.
fact,
No. No.
just cutting. All they did was really cut. They didn't spend any money.
No. Barely anything. Well, the one thing I will say I do like about the Polo contract is, in my mind, the incentives almost gets him up to what he would have made if they did accept the club option. So in
Mhm.
my mind, it's kind of like, you really think you can go out there and do better than what you did last year. He's kind of like, approve it for you. You want to show us you
It
can go
is.
out and do 20 home runs again in your career. Go out and show us, and you'll make that money back. Um, which I do. I might be a little more optimistic, because I do like Polo. I liked when we got him in the first place. I do think that he will kind of have a bounce back, kind of similar to what we're talking about with like Garver, kind of like that second year in Seattle, kind of get used to the whole flow, get more into the clubhouse kind of thing. So I do think both of them will do better in 2025. But again, it's another like season of, or off season of, we're just hoping. Like, all we can do is hope. We never really bring in that guy that you're like, oh, he's going to come in and dominate. Like, it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what, what the fuck are we doing with Haniger? Like, what is the point? Like,
Where's he
why
gonna
is
play?
what's that?
Where's he gonna play? How many
He's not.
ABs is he really gonna get?
He's not going to play.
Exactly.
Like,
I don't get
what are
it.
we doing? It doesn't feel good anymore. You know, it was
No.
a feel good move. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel
Last year
good
was.
anymore.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, he was great in 2022. We're going to 2025.
Yeah. 3
Like,
years ago.
we are we are so removed from that team,
Yeah.
and there's 5 guys left. I would say 4 because I don't consider it Haniger. He's not the piece what he used to be. He's not the
No.
face of the clubhouse. He's not the power left field bat that you're looking for.
Mm-mm.
Um, we essentially have 4 guys. We have Cal, we have Julio, um, we have I guess you're counting pitching as well, but who else is in there besides those 2? We
For
had
like
4,
faces of
right?
the team.
Was that?
You talking about like faces of the team?
No, no, I mean the 4 guys that are still on the Mariners from the 22.
Oh, oh.
Moore, Dylan Moore,
Yep. Dylan Moore.
and JP.
And yeah, JP. I
Those are
think that's
it.
it.
That's all we have
Yeah.
left from 2022, and that was our playoff drought. It's like, what are we doing? Like, why
Yeah.
do we
And
need to have him here? Why are we not DFAing him? Like, what? You don't have any use for him at all. You're
no.
just holding a 40-man roster spot.
Yeah. And Fangraphs has him getting 413 plate appearances. How? How is he going to mix into 96 games? If you have Victor, Randy, and Julio playing the outfield every day, and then now, what if you want a game where you put Solano at first base and then move Luke to the outfield, and then maybe move like Randy to DH or something? He's not gonna be the first one to go to the outfield.
No,
It's gonna be Luke, if anyone. So how is he getting played in 96 games?
I think they got that wrong. I mean, I, I mean, are we following the same idea that Jerry threw out there? Like, if he actually believes what he said,
Yeah,
if he actually believes that, like, oh, we have a good roster around it, we just needed to, tighten things up. It's like, okay, so are you saying that about Haniger too? You think it's just been a rough 3 years
yeah.
where he's going to bounce back next year? Like, really?
Age 34 season, he's gonna bounce back.
And his strikeout rate is what, 33%?
Yeah, it was
Something like that?
29.8 last year.
Okay. I thought it was higher than that.
I mean, that's still
Still,
pretty brutal though.
yeah. Either way, it's a Teoscar Hernandez strikeout rate. It's a
Yeah,
Eugenio Suarez. It's a Jared Kelenic. It's all 3 of the guys that we dumped. And because it was the strikeout rate was too high. No, it's
yeah,
because we have cheap ownership. Because we have John Stanton choking us out of money because he wants some max profit because he doesn't care about baseball. I
no,
I would love for him to tell me to my face that he cares about baseball and he's a fan.
yeah,
Because if you're a fan, you would want to win.
yeah,
He doesn't want to win.
100%.
He
No,
wants us to pay the money, to buy the season tickets, which went up in price, by
of
the
course
way,
it is.
and you didn't spend any money. So DFA Mitch Haniger. Why not? Somebody might pick him up. You know what? The Marlins might pick him up. I know a lot of people have been throwing out ideas that, we should maybe possibly make a trade offer for like some pitching, some relief
Mhm.
pitchers. Maybe they're AAA guys that are coming up, and because they need to add payroll.
Yeah,
I think them and the A's and the Rays. I don't know about the Rays. They might actually get a pass because of the whole
yeah. Stadium thing.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stadium situation.
Mhm.
But the other 2, I'm pretty sure the player association grievance is still hanging over their heads. I
Yeah,
think the A's still need to spend some more money.
yeah,
Um, so instead of trading him there and getting relief pitchers, how about you just DFA him if they were able to pick up his contract, get that money? It's a lot easier for them instead of trading, and they're
yeah,
running out of time. Like,
yeah. Very much.
put him on
Very
waivers,
bad.
see what happens.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, I
could be.
just don't see where he fits into anything this year. 30 to 50 games, maybe, but where you're not going to put him out there every day. Why would you?
I'd put
Unless,
30
okay,
at a high. Like,
exactly. But
unless
like,
someone gets hurt, then okay.
yeah, true. But that's 17.5 million is a lot for a guy to be put in just if somebody else is hurt.
He's our Anthony Rendon.
No, literally.
And I mean that with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Like, you are, of course, not as expensive. You, of course, did not perform like Rendon did at the
Yep.
previous time, but for us, for our budget, the Angels have a lot more money than we do. And they're
Yep.
willing to spend it, even though
Hmm.
it just doesn't work out for them.
Yep.
But he's our Rendon. Like we just can't utilize him.
No.
And when we do, it's a below 200 average with, I mean, what did he actually hit double digits in home runs? I think he did. Like what,
Yeah,
14,
he had 12. Yeah,
12?
12.
It's just not enough.
No.
Like if Rojas is hitting that,
Yeah, literally.
you know,
And
um,
what, after opening day, he hit the home run on opening day. Everyone thought we were like, okay, like, what's he gonna do this year?
got
And then,
gave us some life.
yeah,
Also, it's,
good game.
so did Tyler O'Neill, and so I was at that game.
Were you?
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah, I was at that game. That was brutal, and I was with the other half's friends that are from Boston, so they were, of course, rubbing it in.
Love it.
Boston fans, man,
Yeah,
I can't fight them, but
yeah,
they're a little crazy. Well, on a brighter side, we did get we. I don't know, man. It just feels like this whole season is kind of there's takeaways and then there's additions and they're like, but look what we added, but you took away,
yeah,
when you take two away but you add one, you're
yeah.
like,
You had one.
hey. Well, they
Try to
just
balance.
did it again today. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm sure you saw this.
Which one?
uh it's not on the field, but for reference, we lost Dave Sims
Oh,
and we
yes,
lost Mike Blowers.
yeah,
That sucks for me,
yeah,
because Sims has been the voice as like the secondary for like Dave Niehaus and Rick
hmm,
Riz, and Rick Riz kind of went to full radio. So Dave Sims really formulated and turned into
yeah,
um, that broadcast voice that I associate with the Mariners, at least growing up. Mike Blowers being there on the side, but one voice that left is coming back, Dave Valley,
yeah,
and he was with the Rangers for I believe the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons.
mhm,
Um, I mean, it's still a good lineup. Jay Buhner coming back on to be an announcer. I think that's cool. I mean, nothing like having the bone on there. He
yeah,
played a lot of roles when it comes to the community and everything like that. In 2024, Angie Minting is kind of like the main
yeah,
character here that everybody's
yep,
celebrating. First
yep,
first woman broadcaster to be a part of that play-by-play team, and she played a little bit of a role in it last season,
yeah.
alongside Goldsmith. But
Cool to you.
yeah, it's I mean, she kind of deserves it. She's been in the, like, she was a FSN,
Yeah,
anchor basically after every game, and she's been always playing a role, her and Jen Mueller, kind of
hmm,
the big names when it comes to broadcasting. So
yeah,
I mean, congrats to Angie, yeah, finally getting into this big role as they move
mhm,
forward. And then I'm glad Dave Alley's back, because I miss him. That was he was like Adrian Beltre us. He left for Texas
yeah,
and now he's coming back. So it's nice. It's gonna be weird having, Ryan Rowan Smith out there,
yeah,
having that Australian draw on the TV, and whenever there's a national broadcast and they're the home team, there's gonna be some
yeah,
heads turning because they're not gonna be familiar with him actually being Australian and
yeah,
having a thick accent.
yeah,
But so I mean, this is kind of cool. I don't know
yeah.
how you feel about it, but Dave Sims was big for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, same. Yeah, I love Dave. Did they ever say why Mike wasn't a part of it anymore? Did I miss that?
I don't know why.
Right.
Maybe just it's time.
Yeah.
Um, that it could be his time. I haven't really looked into it too much. This is the first time. I mean, I saw this today. This is the first time I saw that Mike Flowers was out. I knew that
Yeah.
Dave Sims got the job with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Um, which you know what? I'm happy for him. I know
Mhm.
that's like he lives on the East Coast when during like the off season and all that. I believe he's from Pennsylvania. I don't
Yeah.
want to get that
Philly.
wrong.
He's from Philly area. Yeah,
In
he is.
Philly, yeah.
Yep.
So, um, it's a awesome job. I think it's a big step up, at least
Yeah.
media wise, for him, and
Mhm.
that's going to be awesome. But
Yeah.
also, I like personally hated the broadcasting that they were getting. I believe, I don't know if it's the last 2 years or just last season, but the Yankees play-by-play has been horrible, from my opinion. Like, I
Yeah,
could not stand the voice, the calls. They were just dead to me.
yeah,
I did not feel it. I don't know
yeah.
what New York was thinking, but this is like the Yankees. Is going to be terrible simile, but to me, as far as broadcast wise, they just got Juan Soto for the
100%.
broadcasting.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it sucks for us though because Dave's been a part of so many different memories and so many different calls. Now, I
Yeah,
will say Goldie is pretty good at big time calls. He is
he's
very
getting
good at
good.
that.
Yeah, I like him.
Um, yeah, it's just there's so many classics from Dave. It's like it just sucks to see him go.
Yeah.
But I can't lie, I do like Angie and Goldie together. Like when they did a few games last year together, I think they do go and sync well together. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of excited to see them a little more. But yeah, Dave is just a classic. Sucks to see him go.
I'm a little nervous. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
For Angie, I'm rooting for her,
Uh-huh.
but I just want to. I always forget her name. Um,
It's Mentic, isn't it? I'm
no, no,
definitely
no,
saying it
no,
wrong.
no, no, no. I'm
Oh,
making a.
somebody else. Oh, I know what you're gonna do.
You know
No,
who I'm
that
talking about, right?
yeah.
So
That's
no longer the Oakland A's,
yeah.
um,
Sacramento.
Sacramento, which they don't want us to call it that either, but Jenny Kavnar.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's brutal.
There's been some bad ones. Now, let me be clear, like for anybody watching this video, if you guys have seen all those that go around, you're like, yeah, I know, I've heard them all. They're all terrible. There's a lot of them that are fake. There's a lot of
Yeah,
fake ones
yeah,
that were just like her voice is very easy to
yeah,
mimic.
yeah,
I know Dallas Braden backs her up a lot, and I'm sure she's like she means good. She's probably good. Like she just has her beginning moments that were really bad, and
yeah,
I just hope that Angie doesn't have one of those moments. Of course, at the
yeah,
same time, Jenny's like the main one where Dallas Braden's
yeah,
the secondary.
yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be that big of an issue because Aaron
Mhm.
is going to be obviously the main guy, but there might be days where she has to step in.
For
I
sure.
don't wish that on her. You know, that
No.
cringe moment. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
like
it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
yeah, there was the one
Yeah.
where she just like, and that one, oh
No,
yeah,
it's not.
it was a real one, but she was like, is a long fly ball to left field, and
No.
that one is gonna change the balance of this game.
Oh my god. No, I think honestly one of the worst ones is the Jose Siri one, where
Oh
it's like
yeah,
3-0 and he swings and misses completely and he goes, "It's just not your day,
and then it's
Jose."
like a
And then
home
he
run.
just next pitch.
I
Oh no.
I imagined when I heard that whole thing, the silence next to her of like that, I was
Oh,
like, oh god,
it's like, oh, what did she just do?
shouldn't have like talked that. It's just bad when it backfires when you're talking smack
Yeah,
and then it
yeah,
happens. Luckily for her though, A's aren't going to be playing the Mets very often, and that's where Jose
no,
Siri is now. So
yeah,
maybe she'll be good. But as far as Angie goes, I don't think she's going to make that mistake. But I don't think she'll be
no,
also given the opportunity to make that mistake
yeah,
at least often. I'm going to
yeah,
guess maybe 5 games she might actually take
yeah,
lead.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but that's what I'm worried about is like that moment where
You're just like, oh,
she's like she thinks it's gone. You know, it's like oh,
oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
cracked, and then it's just a routine fly ball.
yeah. I mean, hey,
Uh,
to be fair, as good as Dave was, he had a few of those moments last year where you get all excited and it's like, okay, that's gone, and then it's a fly out at the warning track, and it's like, oh, okay,
yeah, yeah. I guess it's more well for him being, you know, he's been in this game for a long
no,
time. So
100%, yeah,
I would say like for her, it's like, oh, it's a newbie mistake. Where him, who's just like, please God, someone do something. And he was just like the way
yeah.
we were feeling, we're like, come on, come
Like,
on,
let's
come
get
on, come on,
excited. Come on,
come
do
on, come on,
something
come on.
cool.
And you're like, yeah,
And then yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So
literally,
there's I guess different levels of it. I know
yeah,
she's gonna do great, so it's good
yeah,
there. So
she is,
that's good news, but it is sucked that we lost two.
yeah, especially in one off season, and not bringing any offense that makes it cooler to back up for it. Sorry, I had to plug that one. Had to plug that one. It's too
Yeah.
easy.
It is kind of a cheap shot, but at this point, it's like
Yeah,
everybody already knows. I
yeah,
just wonder,
but,
I just wonder how it's gonna work moving into 2026 after this season, because I think a lot of people are giving up because they're like,
Yeah.
what have we've been dedicated and you haven't done anything. You
Yeah.
set a bar in 22 and you're going way downhill fast. Like we are
Yeah.
turning into the new Angels.
Hmm.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That
Well,
really sucks.
the one thing that I was thinking the other day is like, if they don't end up trading Luis Castillo at a random day at some point for no reason, I do think that obviously it's exciting going into this year having the same staff, like because they're going to go do their thing, like
Yeah.
100%. But I think honestly, the one thing that I kind of was thinking in my mind, and I know we talk about it a lot, is like that last month and a half of the season where they were literally a top 5 offense in the game, which was fantastic to watch from our perspective. Of course, we didn't get to the playoffs, but it was
Jerry was heavy
fantastic.
on that
Oh yeah.
in
Listen,
his.
and I see it to an extent because you still have Edgar there. You bring in the new hitting coach, who's obviously very good at what he does, but also Brent Brown was good at what he does, and clearly it didn't work. Um, but even if you don't have to be a top 5 offense in the game. You don't. You have this pitching staff. You have a good bullpen. Hopefully, there's some guys that are surprises this year, and hopefully, Santos can stay healthy, Brash can stay healthy and come back. But all you have to do is just be a top 15 offense in the game, and you're talking about what, a 95% chance we make the playoffs. But if we're at the bottom, bottom 5 for 3 months, like what are we going to do? It's going to be the same kind of situation where you're hoping through the end of the year you can be one game ahead of the next team to make the playoffs.
Well, I mean but you're talking about a team that like fired its coaching staff because the offense was so bad, and we
Yeah.
didn't change anything.
No.
Realistically, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we saw the improvement towards the end of the season, but is that really Dan Wilson doing it? Like,
I think it's more of an Edgar effect kind of thing
think
than it
so?
is Dan. I think so. I mean, look at the stats. I know obviously when Edgar was the hitting coach the first time around, you're talking about, you have Robbie Cano, you have Nelly Cruz, like you have guys like that.
Yeah,
But you come in and like if you just look at the numbers, I mean, I can look them up again, but they were dominant ever since Edgar came in last year. And like you can't, I mean, as much as you want to say like, oh, it's just, timing, whatever, they just got hot, new coach, new everything. But like they came in and literally dominated in offense. Like the Phillies, I think were 5th in offense through that last month and a half, and the WAR is like almost 2 difference. So
yeah,
I could just be very overly optimistic, but I do think that Edgar did play a huge part in that.
probably. It doesn't hurt to be overly optimistic, though. Like at this point, there's
Oh yeah,
not a lot to
sure.
go off of. So when you're
Yeah,
reading deep into these things, it's like, okay, we can be a little bit more, ooh, this could be exciting for the same.
yeah,
I guess the hype is killed because there's nothing new to look forward to.
true, 100%.
Like, is isn't that like the point of the off season? It's like new
Yeah.
blood, bigger moves,
Mhm.
improvements where they didn't really add. It's just been a lot of subtracting, and then now we're
True.
calling up people from AAA, like with Bizardo's coming up from AAA to
Oh my
fill in a
gosh.
40-man role.
Again.
Yeah, again. I mean, Colby's big on him. They
Yeah. I
he
mean,
said
he has
he
his
likes him a
flashes.
lot.
Yeah, he has his flashes. I'm not it's kind of similar with like Emerson Hancock. Like there's guys that are kind of higher on him and kind of think he can be an everyday pitcher, or obviously not every day, but be a main guy in a rotation, even if he's just 5th guy. But then obviously you have other guys who absolutely think he's just terrible and just comes in whenever we need a guy just to stand there and do something.
Emerson's
So it's
like
kind of similar.
like Max Meyer to me. He's just like
Yeah.
kind of flirts with that with MLB.
Yeah.
People think positive of him, but there has not been really any overwhelming evidence of something to be
Yeah.
excited for,
Excited about. Yeah, I agree.
which
So
is ugh. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I feel you. So here's kind of the stats. So this is Edgar and Dan Wilson came in, I think it was August 23rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So from August 23rd through the end of the year. So the only teams statistically better from a WAR perspective than the Mariners were in that last month and a half were the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Cubs. The Mariners had an 8.5 WAR as a team, and the next best team was the Philadelphia Phillies with a 6.4.
What
So
about
again,
that first 2 months when we were 10 games ahead of the Astros?
let me check. It's a good point. I know. I mean, you remember we had the worst K percentage in the league for a long time there.
Yeah.
If you go to, let's say, May 15th. So this is okay. So from a WAR perspective, the Mariners were 16th, 4.2 WAR for the first 44 games of the year.
It's wild because we were so far ahead. I mean, which is another reason why I think that this division's still wide open, but I am because I can't figure out. I don't know who's the best team at this point. I really don't,
No.
because Angels to me are a better team, and you have Trout coming back.
If he can stay back is the question.
Yeah, yeah. I know they're going to make the stupid move and put him in center. I've had the arguments with Angel fans for the last few months talking about that. Like, you need to DH him, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to put Soler out there." It's like, okay. And
Then
they're like,
risk
well,
it
all
again.
of his injuries are from batting. They're not from fielding. I'm like, okay,
It all plays an
whatever you
impact
say,
on
man.
the body. But
But
it's funny you say that because of the Astros too. Like the Astros were top 5 in WAR, 44 games into the year, but we were
Mhm.
still what, however many games in front of them.
We're 10 games ahead until June 20th.
Yeah.
And then it
So they were.
all went downhill.
It's just so painful. But I think
Yeah.
like kind of the Edgar thing along the lines is like I could pull up the stats on that too, like for individual players. But like even if you look at Julio, like Julio dominated the last month and a half of the year. And that could be from, you would see pictures of, before the game of Edgar and Julio just working one on one, which is
Yeah.
obviously huge for a guy like him. Because like realistically, if we want a chance, right, and we're relying on again how many what ifs, if we want a legit chance to dominate this year and win the division, you need Julio to be top 10 in MVP voting, if
We
not
need him to
arguably
be
top 5.
22 again.
Yeah,
2022.
literally,
We need
literally
that. Because it's if he declines one more year again, we got some concerns.
a lot, very much so.
It's like we got the bad version. We got the bad rookie of the year. Like, we got the rookie of the
Yeah,
year and he was great, but he declined. And then you have Bobby Witt, who probably should have won it, who's going to
yeah,
be MVP vote again,
yeah,
who's doing
and
better.
bringing his
And
team to the
honestly, we
playoffs.
need a shortstop right now. So I would have better have
Yeah,
him right now because we have
yeah,
so many outfielders. We don't even need
yeah.
Julio. I'm going to
I know.
piss off a lot of people
Yeah,
by saying that, but like, we're getting to a point where it's like, all right.
yeah. So here's kind of my thing with it. So if you talk about like, so going back to kind of the Edgar thing, so our top 5 hitters last year when Edgar and Dan came in were Victor, Julio, Cal, Luke, and Justin Turner, right? But the whole time you're sitting there kind of thinking to yourself, you're like, if we're really going to make the playoffs, Julio has to turn it into another gear. Like it's really the only chance we had. So
Yeah.
when Edgar got there, obviously Victor Robles was just 407 the last month and a half. That's insane. But
That's what I was
Julio
gonna
hit,
ask, like, how much did
yeah.
he jump up? Because he was having a great year, but did he actually get better when Edgar showed up? But
I
yeah,
mean, he had a
407?
203 WRC plus when Edgar got there
That's
to the end of the
mediocre.
year. 1.9 WAR. But Julio, like 30 RBIs, 9 home runs in 34 games.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to put that together in, 5 to 5.5 30-game segments. But, 9 home runs in 34 games. What is that on pace for? 45 plus home runs?
Which is what we
Maybe a little
expect from
lower.
him at this point.
Exactly. But that's the crazy thing is like even if you look at his stats last year, and obviously Julio did not do what we needed Julio to do the entire year. But that being said, he's still that good of a player that when he has a bad year, he's still putting up above league average numbers. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of you're at that point where you're like, okay, Julio Rodriguez is supposed to be the absolute star. Like he's supposed to be a star in the game. Like you're talking like
We
he's
still
supposed to be
bad
a
at
top 10.
275. I understand he was
Exactly.
out, but like I understand his numbers were good as far as getting on base, but it was that stint of end of June till God whenever he came back or whenever he
Yeah.
got hurt, and
What was it,
he
August,
was
wasn't it?
striking out all the time.
Yeah. Well, that first game he
And
came back, wasn't he 0 for 5 with 5 Ks?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's like I just need you. I don't need you to um I need you to not be Pete Alonso last year.
Yeah.
I need you to not hit 35 home runs, but have the most strikeouts of your career. I think he had 172 strikeouts last season, Pete Alonso.
Yikes. Yikes.
And That's a lot.
A lot.
And his walks weren't very high, although he still batted, I believe, at 230 something. Um, I don't know. I had it on the last pod, but it's yeah, I just need him to be consistent because he has these slumps. Like he was good at the very beginning of the season, and he got cold and colder and colder, and then he got
Yeah.
ice cold, got injured, came back 5Ks in a row, and you're like, geez, okay. And then the last
National
month and a
TV.
half, you're just like, all right, thanks for showing up. You know,
Finally.
we're 7 games behind.
Yeah.
Um, Astros are worse this year coming into
Yeah.
this next season. I mean, on Kyle Tucker, so far
No
they don't
Haniger.
have Alex Bregman, but if he follows the Pete Alonso way, which I think was going to happen no matter what,
Yeah.
he's going to be back with the Astros, and I think the
Yeah.
Astros are just that much, or they're just in the same spot that they were before. Yeah, they lost a generational bat. I would call him generational in right field
Yeah.
with Kyle Tucker, but at the same time, you also added Christian Walker, which we didn't have to deal with last season in our
True.
division, and I
True.
think that's a problem because
Yeah.
if he's able to stay healthy, he's better than Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
So
I
the
mean,
Astros
yeah.
are I'm worried about.
Yeah. I mean, and you also already know they win. They just find a way to win, no matter what the case is, no matter what situation. They just find a way to get to the playoffs.
And they got a new
Um,
sponsor. They Minute Maid is gone. They
yeah.
don't have lemonade anymore. They actually have AC. So they're gonna feel cool and relaxed
So
at
they're cool to
home.
play.
Yeah,
Good
instead of
point.
sweating their
Good
balls
point.
off
Good
or
point.
whatever you got. It's
Yeah.
2025. And you're going to be able to play now at home.
Yeah.
And you have Isak Paredes who's going to pull the ball to the Crawford
All
boxes
day.
every single day, and it's going to be a 65 per hour exit velocity, and you're still going to be like, how the hell
Did it
is this
go
going
out?
310 feet?
Literally.
So
Yeah.
it's a problem. But then,
I think, yeah.
yeah,
I think across the board, I think the division is going to be as fair as it's been in a while. Like I obviously think your top three teams are going to be Astros, Rangers, and Mariners, but the Angels are going to be more competitive, and we can't even beat the Angels when they're not competitive.
no, we can't.
So they're going to be more competitive now than they even were last year, and they killed us last year.
Yeah,
And then you have the A's, who are obviously like they did better last year. They beat
they look
expectations
really good
last
at
year.
the end.
Exactly. And now you have guys like Butler, you bring back Rooker again, you have, Severino come in. They've added a decent amount of pieces that will
Mhm.
make them better. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and be like the A's are going to, be top two in the division. That's not what I'm saying. But it's not going to be like a walk in the park anymore. It's not going to be, A's automatic win, Angels automatic win. Not that it ever was for the Mariners, but for most teams, it was automatic win. So now you're dealing with every single time you have to play however many division games you got to play every single year. It's not going to be as easy as it used to be.
Mhm.
And that plays a factor in everything. So they need to figure out, the Angels, they can't be losing these series to the Angels or the A's. But again, it's going to be a pretty competitive division, at least more than it was last year.
Are we playing the A's again? We always play the A's as like the last series of the season,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Usually. I know we
And
play
we
them to
always
start off.
lose, and then we don't make the playoffs.
No, literally. I know who we finished off with. It was the Rangers the one year, wasn't it? The year
I
we didn't
thought
make it
last
in
year was
23.
Astros, and we would just like close the door.
Oh, yeah. It was, we had to sweep the Astros and they beat us in the second game, I think. And that's what knocked us out. But then we played another team to finish off the year and we swept them, didn't we?
Believe so. Let me see. Oh, get really?
Wasn't it?
Oh no, I'm looking at this coming year. Our last series is against the Dodgers.
Oh, awesome. That's fun.
Well, okay, so our last interdivision series in September is going to be against the Astros on the 19th through the 21st. And then we have 6 home games from the 23rd to the 28th where we're playing the Rockies and then the Dodgers.
Which could be good, at least from a Rockies perspective.
Could be, could
Yeah.
be, but like that's rough September. You play Tampa Bay, then you
Yeah.
play the Braves,
Yikes.
then you play the Cardinals. So a little more optimistic, but we'll see what happens with Arenado and how Brendan Donovan is playing.
Yeah.
Then you play the Angels for 4 games. Then Kansas City, who is stacked.
Yeah. Competitive 100%.
Then the Astros, then the Rockies, then the Dodgers. So that could be killer. If you're playing at
Yeah.
home against the Dodgers and we are talking if it's even like one game behind, half a game behind,
Yeah.
tied in the division, those last 3 games could be brutal. And I'm just
True.
going to go off on a limb here and say the Astros are probably the team that is going to be fighting for first unless the Rangers can wake up again. I don't know what happened last year, but they also lost
Yeah.
Nathaniel Lowe. They traded him
True.
away. So they're not as strong, and Simeon's been kind of declining. Seager's
Yeah.
been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Adolis Garcia didn't show up last season.
Not at all.
So I guess my question would be, um, let's see. I want to know who the Astros are playing at the end of the
Yeah.
season.
Well, the one good thing from Mariners' perspective, at least, is the Dodgers at that point in the year are, you can say, 99.9% going to already be in a playoff spot where they don't need to worry. They're probably going to, whatever the case may be.
So they bring out their
So,
AAA guys.
yeah, literally. So, or they'll have like guys like Snell and all them kind of on a pitch count. So, they might go out on some of those games and be like, here's 4 innings. Go
They
give
throw
me
Kershaw
65
against
pitches.
us.
Yeah, literally. So that is the one thing that could work in their favor is if the Dodgers are already like well secured in like the top of the division, like they'll go out and only have these guys on kind of a pitch limit, just like almost like a extended bullpen kind of thing.
Okay, so the Astros in September are going to be playing the Yankees,
Mm-hmm.
then the Rangers, then the Blue Jays, then the Braves,
Mm-hmm.
and then they play everybody in the division. They go
So,
Texas, Mariners, Oakland, not Oakland, Sacramento, and then Angels.
I mean, it's not an easy schedule to say.
It's not
I wouldn't say
easy,
it's an
but
easy
I
September.
still think that they're better than New York. Yankees, I don't know. Goldschmidt, we'll see. But
Belly
yeah, they got Belly, but even he has been kind of like there's a reason why the Cubs offloaded him.
got rid of him. Yeah. Well, he's gonna have a
Like
field day in Yankee Stadium though.
think so?
Oh my God, with the short porch, 100%.
In right field? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Sims will have fun calling that, I guess.
Yeah. Literally.
Um, yeah, but then you have the Blue Jays who have been active for the very end of the finish line of the offseason.
Yeah.
And the Braves, super quiet. Of course, they made a couple moves, but they're not bad. I feel like the Rangers, the Mariners, and the Braves have this similar mindset, but the Mariners are more out of their minds to think that this is a reasonable strategy because the Braves have really good players. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries, but
Yeah.
they probably don't need to go get a starting pitcher. They had Chris Sale, they have Strider, they have Ronaldo Lopez, they have um, AJ something Smith, rookie, going to be really good. I have
Yeah.
nothing to hold against him. You have Acuna coming back, Matt Olson. Hopefully his bat wakes up. You have Ozzy Albies. Hopefully he'll be healthy. And
Yeah.
then you have Austin Riley. Hopefully he'll wake up. Like there are guys that did not perform very well for the Braves
Yeah.
that you can expect to be like, okay, like we have confidence in you.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy is another one. The Rangers, same thing. Like Corey Seager, Simeon, Adolis,
Yeah.
they're going to wake up. White
At
Langford
some
is
point.
first year in the season, as you said, and you mentioned that he's
Yeah.
like most expected to be the
The
booming
dark
player of
horse.
the
Yeah.
AL West.
Yeah.
So Evan Carter could wake up a little bit. Who's their first baseman now?
So Jake Berger, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So
He's
from
not
an
going to play
offensive
third.
perspective, I don't know because they got Jock and Jake Berger were their main two. Now the big question with the Rangers, realistically, I'm not even so much worried about their offense is going to be pretty good like it usually is, but their
Mhm.
bullpen, they lost a lot of bullpen pieces.
Yeah, they lost Leclerc, Kirby,
Leclerc,
and
Yates, Robertson.
oh yeah, Robertson. Yeah, he's still available though.
True.
They could bring him
True.
back. It's getting close. Like,
Yeah, they're pushing it if they're trying to get him back,
well, nobody else has picked him up either.
and they got Higgy too.
Okay, yeah,
It
that's it.
isn't crazy, but he has his
So is he
moments.
going to be back up though to Jonah Heim? Because I made a video about that, and I feel like this is the time for him to be a starter. I think he's proved
Yeah.
himself.
Well, and he had a what's his name again? The catcher now, Jonah Heim.
Jonah Heim, yeah.
He had a down year last year,
Yo, it was
offensively
bad.
especially. Yeah. So I mean, that might be kind of like a Jonah gets first dibs kind of thing, and then 20, 25 games in, you're like, okay, maybe we got to give Higgy more playing time.
Well, the fact that Higgy hit so well in San Diego, I think is a big.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Padres are. I know it's a mess there right now
Yeah.
with the ownership. They are making moves. They've picked up a couple people the last few days, but
Yeah. Connor
they
Joe
should have
yesterday.
brought Higgy back to make him the number
Yeah.
one. Capusano, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
him be your catcher?
Yeah. Well, they have. Did they get
Terrible.
Diaz too, or did they re-sign him or whatever?
Yeah, but I would rather have Higgy out there, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm
I
surprised they
mean,
didn't
yeah.
bring back Solano. I mean, I understand they have plenty of people for the infield,
Yeah.
but I would have brought back Solano and found a way to dump off Luis Arias. He's on his final year. You can get a good return.
You could.
But
I mean, they do that. Yeah. I guess they think they're going to try to win with that kind of same team again for the
I,
most
I
part.
will I will give credit to the Mariners for Solano. I like Solano.
I
I've
do like
always
Solana.
liked him. He needs an everyday role on a team.
Yeah.
I know
And
he's old, but that dude just needs to be given bats.
yeah, I'm actually
Um,
pulling up the stats now because I was just going to try to pivot into that.
there you
I
go.
mean,
Thinking
yeah.
alike.
I mean,
Positivity.
116. Yeah. 116 WRC plus 118 the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Not crazy war. He's not going to put out 10 home runs. He's not going to have 60 RBIs. But
Mhm.
again, this is what we need. We need more a career, what is it, 279 hitter?
Well, that's the thing, though. You put him in the right spot and you set him up.
Yeah.
You're gonna get those RBIs. You're gonna get
Yeah.
those 120 RBIs in a season. Like,
Yeah.
because all you have to do is put him in the right spot and then have the right guys ahead of him that get on
Yeah.
base, and he can produce. Like,
Yeah.
that's not something I'm worried about. It's just like the guys around him need a hit,
Yeah. I
and
agree.
I kind of wish that the Mariners would just gone out, DFA'd a bunch of guys that hit under 250 and go find guys that hit over 250.
Literally.
Like,
Literally.
I
And
don't need
that,
home runs. I know it's
no,
exciting, but I don't need it. Because look at
produce.
2001 Mariners. I made this case before. They all hit over 260 except for like two guys.
Mhm.
And there's only three guys that hit double digit home runs.
Yeah.
And one of them was on roids. Booney,
I mean,
talking
yeah,
to
I'm
you.
with
Come on
you.
the pod.
But yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, like another question mark, which is kind of has to be a question mark in this lineup, and I don't want it to be, but it almost has to be, is can Victor Robles replicate what he did last year? Because if he can, you're talking about this team kind of taking it to a little bit of a higher level on an offensive side. Because now you have a guy like Donovan Solano who's going to come in and probably hit 280, can maybe even push 300. He hasn't done it in 4 years, but
Mhm.
he can kind of push that higher end batting average. But it doesn't matter if, Victor Robles goes back down to 240, 250. Because you have a guy like him at the top of the lineup that's going to get on every single time. Like all the time, he's going to get on base and be an absolute havoc on the base paths. But when you reach a point in the season where you're like, okay, do we maybe have to move Donovan Solano up to the leadoff spot because he has the highest average on the team? Maybe move Victor Robles down, not get so much playing time. Like it has to be a question. I don't want it to be, but it has to be like, can he do that again, or at least even be close to it?
I would be optimistic that he is going to do it, just because that's the reason why I asked you about like what his numbers were after
Yeah,
Edgar showed up, and the fact that
yeah,
his numbers went up from a three something to a 402 and having that 203, 201
yeah,
WRC plus, like
yeah,
that increase shows me he's even better. So even if he did worse next season,
yeah,
just cooled down a little bit and he's hitting, let's just say he would hit 250, but he's probably going to hit like 265,
yeah.
270 because of Edgar being there and working with him.
Uh-huh.
I'm not worried about his bat. I'm optimistic that Robles will be able to come through,
Yeah,
but I worry about the base running ability of this team because that killed a few games for us.
yeah,
That Julio's mistake and mishap, just lackadaisical, doing something stupid on third base. We all remember that. And then Robles getting thrown out a lot.
yeah,
Like his speed is good,
yeah,
but he needs to be attentive on what's going on and be smart on his movement, which is the reason why I don't think Solano would move up to a leadoff position ever,
mm.
because he's
No, I
not
agree.
fast.
Yeah,
He's slow, and you want that speed on there. If anything, I would think Robles, Julio and Solano. I know it's unorthodox to have a number 3 or even a number 4 guy not be a power bat, but
Yeah.
if you're able to get those two on 2 base hits, first and second, you have
Yep.
speed, a lot of speed at first, and you hit it. Solano's able to hit in the gap, and maybe Solano
Yep.
only gets it to first. You're at least going to score one and get runners on the corners. I mean, that's
Yep.
my thought process.
No, it's not a bad thought process at all. I think on paper, if you look at this team on paper for what your top 6 in the lineup are going to be, right? You have Victor, Julio, Cal, Randy, Luke Raley, and then Donovan Solano, you could say, argues in the top 6 on the squad right now in
Yeah.
terms of an offensive side. Now, on paper, that's a solid first 6, like without a doubt. Luke Raley has some things he has to work on with breaking balls and, being able to hit lefty pitching maybe a little more. I really
Any
don't think he's going to
left-hander,
get any
yeah.
opportunity. Yeah, exactly. But like obviously we know he destroys fastballs. That's not a question. We don't have to worry about that.
Mhm.
But again, it's the same kind of concept of like, Cal is honestly, in my opinion, the guy that I don't have to worry about ever. Like he's going to go out and do his hit 220 with 30 plus bombs every single year, in my opinion. That's obviously just my mindset on it. But you have guys like JP. Like JP was our leadoff guy. Like he was the guy in 2023. You were like, okay, JP Crawford. He has climbing to do. If you get that from JP any year, you're chilling with his defense, everything. You're fine. But last year the injuries started to come out. He never really found his groove last year. So now you have to go into 2025 with like, okay, JP Crawford's a great defender. What is he going to bring on the offensive side? Can he stay healthy? Is he going to have these random injuries that pop up here and there?
His
So
whole
it's
thing
like,
flipped when it came to his hitting. He went from being excellent at hitting, I believe it was righties,
yeah,
to being one of the worst righty hitters in all of baseball in one season.
yeah,
Made zero sense. I know he just had a kid, so maybe there's some like family stuff, and it's not bad, but just your focus goes to family
other things.
no matter what. So
Yeah,
maybe that was the thing. Although he just had his, I believe it was his daughter.
yeah, daughter. Yeah,
What, 2 months ago?
yeah,
So
2 or 3.
maybe, but that's still a long time. I don't know what's going on there. It really doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah,
Maybe I mean, I don't know if he improved at all when Edgar showed up, but
he didn't really play that much. I mean, he really never figured it out last year at any point.
yeah. Yeah, and that's a concern I have. I'm
Yeah,
not too worried about Robles. I'm not concerned about Julio, because even if he doesn't hit 275 and he hits 240 but he hits 30 bombs or whatever it is that he fixed
yeah,
and figured it out, I'm not worried about him. Randy Rosarena, I'm not too worried about him. He seemed like he picked it up towards the end and
yeah,
settled down a little bit, because
yeah,
it seems like we're only pulling guys that are I wouldn't say generational. They are franchise bats
yeah.
that we were receiving. Randy never played for another team before he came here. Polanco never played for another team before he came here.
Nope,
Robles never played for another team before he came here.
nope.
I'm seeing a trend here. It's like maybe a little bit more diversity on guys that we're bringing in might be smart. Like maybe not go after Robert Jr.
Mm-hmm. True.
Although I think that'd be a good change of pace for him,
Yeah,
because
he needs
I think
something.
he's surrounded by a terrible organization with terrible morale, to where
Yeah,
your own fans are like showing up to celebrate you breaking the record for most losses. I think that would be a good move to bring him over and DFA Mitch Haniger, and
yeah,
we just need to spend more money. It's so stupid that we can't just fork up another 20 mil when your revenue last season was like 270 or something like that. I'd have to look it up again, but there's plenty of money. I don't know where it's going besides the pockets, but
yeah.
uh,
I mean,
I'm not concerned about these guys. I'm really not. I just
yeah,
We need more. We need something to
yeah.
kickstart it.
But I mean, I don't know how dumb they have to be. And the sad part is they're businessmen, right? So you think their whole concept would be like, how can we bring in more money? Crazy thought. This fan base brings in that much money and we still haven't won anything ever.
Yeah,
Imagine if you bring a World Series back to Seattle, how much money they'll make.
I don't think
Like,
they
I don't
care.
know why. It
I don't
makes
think they
no
care.
sense.
They
That
they
makes
they
no
picked
sense.
something that works and they stuck with it. And that was Jerry. He
Yeah.
feeds hope. He changes things up. People get excited. They show up. It doesn't work out. We're so close. As long as you're so close, like maybe next year, what are you going to do? But I'm just saying, like, I know you and I are different level of fans, and whoever's watching this, you're a different level of fan. Like you truly look into the Mariners more than anybody else because you are watching this team during the offseason when they're not even playing and trying to
Yeah.
figure out what's going to happen. Like, are we going to be excited? Are we not going to be excited? What should we be worried about? What should we not worried about? Staying updated.
Yeah.
I don't think majority of the fan base is like this.
True.
So I still think there's going to be a lot of people showing up and they're gonna be like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah. Like what's going
what's
on?
happening here? It's like, we're trying to fill you in.
Yeah.
They don't
No,
care.
that's a good point. Yeah.
They
No,
don't
I
care
agree.
because they know they're going to fill seats.
Yeah. You're not wrong. But I mean, to go back to your question in terms of like kind of how certain guys performed when Edgar did come in.
Yeah.
So this, in my mind, obviously, this kind of just goes back to JP just really not being able to figure it out. So he played in 28 games when Edgar and Dan came in. He had 116 plate appearances with a 194 batting average, a 79 WRC plus, and a .2 WAR. So
I guess it's positive.
I mean,
Ugh.
yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, here's also another part of that, how you kind of have to think about it, at least in my mind. And again, probably me just being overly optimistic. But so when Edgar came over, here's kind of like how there's a lot more guys in triple digits WRC plus than there are double digits, which is a good thing. But you have
Okay.
guys, even like Demo had a 115 WRC plus. Mitch
That
Garver
was
had a
defensive.
105.
That was definitely
No,
defensive, though.
well, no WRC plus.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
an offensive.
Sorry, I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But even Garver, 105. Like for his year last year, you got to think about it as like a positive step forward.
How many at bats did he have though?
With Edgar during that time, he
Yeah.
played in 16 games. But
So
to close
like
out the year,
30,
it was only
30 at bats? 40?
57 plate appearances. Again, nothing crazy, like nothing that's going to be like, oh, he's coming in next year with hitting 125. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, it's a positive step in the right direction for the year that he had last year.
Yeah.
Dylan Moore, like, I mean, he had a pretty decent year overall, but a 115 WRC plus. Cal a 130, Randy a 121, Luke Rayleigh a 176.
I like Luke. I think it was
I
a
like
good
Luke a lot.
addition.
Yeah, I agree.
He's fun. He's fun to watch. He's
Yeah.
funny as hell to watch defensively.
Yeah.
And he just seems like he has that kind of like, I don't know, like surfer bro dude kind of mental, like, what's up? Like, hey man, like let's go out there. Like, hey, you want to go get some ice cream? You're like, ice cream? You're like, yeah. And you're like, okay,
sounds good.
Let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I think he was a nice addition for sure.
He's excellent.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait and see, obviously, but I will have more confidence when there's interviews made with these players and they sound optimistic.
Just like
Because
they know more
you, Jake, I mean, I wouldn't say Lyle, but TJ, Colton, you guys are very optimistic when it comes to this. Lyle's not like a negative guy, but he is very much like me, where we're just like, what the fuck's going on here? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Colby, he has his persona when he gets on camera. It's just like everything, but like you have to, from his perspective and all the information he's getting, and he's covering like the Mariners, like he's hearing what we're talking about like all day, every day. Like that's all he's hearing. And it's more just like, okay, well, I'm tired of talking about the same thing because the Mariners don't produce anything more to talk about besides what we're discussing. I mean, but I do have a nice little change of pace. This is more like fantasy. I was gonna do a yay or nay today, but we had some scheduling changes, so kind of threw it off. I'm probably gonna save it for later. The MLB Trade Rumors wrote an article about the Royals, and they're discussing their off season and how they're going to, I guess, address their lineup, because specifically they have obviously too many infielders and they are struggling in the outfield. They missed out on Santander, although I thought that would have been a perfect addition because they really needed somebody, because MJ Melendez has been kind of like iffy. He didn't do too great last year. And then same with him on par in the outfield. would be most likely not Isbell, but because Nelson Vasquez was terrible. But who's their other outfielder? It's I'm blanking on his name. Um, anyways, similar numbers to MJ Melendez, but it's not. Is it Isbell? No, Isbell was doing well.
Isbell was, yeah, he was pretty good.
He was doing
Melinda
really well.
Renfro, they had Renfro last year. I
Renfro,
don't know how
yeah,
many games
sorry,
he
yeah,
played. Yeah,
Renfro. So him and Melendez have very similar numbers.
yeah,
And then you have Kyle Isbell, who I think defensively he deserves to be out there. I believe he had like a 10 plus outs above average. Yeah,
yeah. It's not.
right there. Um, for the outfield. So they're definitely hanging on to him. But now they're talking about Michael Massey, Michael Garcia, and also Jonathan India rotating and playing around in the outfield because offensively they can produce versus these other guys until they can figure it out. And they are also talking about adding a left-handed pitcher. Now, I'm not saying this is something we should do, but I am saying this is something we should do is maybe we reach out and we start offering because there's a couple of free agents available like left-handed pitchers like Ryan Yarbrough, which would be a great addition for them. 3.19 ERA last year, 1.2 WAR. That's pretty hard to get for a relief pitcher. I'm just
Yep.
putting that out there. And they're looking for a lefty. I don't know what he is going to cost for the Royals, but there also is this possibility that we could be able to offer someone from our bullpen, maybe a Saucedo. I understand that he had a little bit of a rocky path last season. It wasn't excellent, but a 3.49 is tolerable. It's showing improvement. Obviously, 2022, we won't want to look at that, but I like him personally. I
Yep.
want Saucedo to stay on this team, but one guy who did fall off the ladder, for lack of better terms, is Spire.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a way we can bundle maybe a couple pitchers. I know we need bullpen depth, but who says we can't make a trade to where, hey, Gabe Spire, he's a lefty. He has decent numbers, just he had a rough go of it last season. They believe in him to come back. I mean, it seems like all the pitchers that go to the Royals seem to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Seem to. And if you're able to get a bundle together, maybe it's a couple prospects, it's with Gabe Spire, you're able to bring back someone, maybe Michael Massey. Do we need another second baseman?
We have Miles Mastrobuoni now.
Yeah, that's fun.
And you got Shenton still.
That's a little bit interesting. So I would say choose between Michael Garcia, who has only 7 home runs, bats 231, but has 37 stolen bases. So he's a runner. He's one of those get on base, steal bags, make moves. I understand his OPS plus was like nothing, but I'm okay with anything over 230. And if you're stealing 37 bags, I'm okay with that. I don't really need the 7 home runs. Or your other option, if you could trade for him, is grabbing Michael Massey, who, if I can pull him up here, I have too many tabs open. There we go. Batted 259 with 14 home runs, only 1 stolen base, so he's not going to steal you any bags. I mean, which one are you going for? I understand the OPS plus is a bigger number. He's got more pop, clearly.
Yep.
But would you want speed with a decent batting average, or do you want more pop with a okay batting average, probably right around the expectation of what I'm going to see from Rosarena? I would 259,
Yeah.
it's kind of up to par. Like maybe
Yeah.
he's available with the right amount of options.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. I mean, this lineup definitely does not have a lot of speed. I mean, you have what? You have Julio, Victor, Demo, Bliss when he plays, and
Rayleigh?
then who really else? Well, yeah, Luke. But again, that's not like, that's not the potential of stealing 30 bags speed. You know what I
No,
mean? Like he's not going to do it for fun because
no.
he's really good at it, like Victor would. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you're talking about half a lineup that doesn't have speed. Ugh, I don't know. It's tough for me to not with the lineup the way it's constructed now. It's tough for me to not take into consideration. Like at least if you're not going to hit above 230, at least give me 20 plus home runs.
And plus, Garcia plays third, second, and shortstop, where Massey's only played second.
Yeah,
But
it's tough.
it seems like we're super confident on Bliss Moore and Cole Young.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give Bliss a shot. I think you got to give Bliss a shot.
I'm
I think
okay with
he,
him. I'm okay
yeah,
with him there. Platoon him though. Like
yeah,
if
no,
he's
100%,
not doing
100%.
well,
Yeah.
set him down for a little
I
bit.
mean, you got to remember though, Bliss, I'm looking at his numbers right now. In 2023 and 2024, he had 55 bags and 50 bags. That's a lot of bags. He played in
Yeah.
93 games at AAA last year, and he had 50 stolen bases. That's
But can
nuts.
he get on base so he can steal those bags?
Exactly. That is the solid question.
That's
But again, it's
that's
such a small sample, though. 71 plate appearances, like that's a really small sample size for a guy who's 24.
yeah.
So I
I'm
think
okay
you got
with
to give
it.
it a little more time. Yeah.
I'm okay with it. But we could be making moves to get guys that are very much available
Yeah.
because the Royals are just they have too many infielders. They don't have enough outfielders. Hell, what's up, Haniger? Can you hit? Can you hit a Kauffman Stadium? I don't
Oh
know,
my God. Can he hit
but
anywhere at this point? We don't know.
yeah, can you hit it? I have no idea. But he's also spent the last 5 years playing at the two hardest ballparks to hit in.
Yeah. With
So
injuries on top of it.
maybe Kaufman's not a bad option for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Um, Nelson Vasquez needs to probably step down. He's been rough.
Yeah.
Um, the last year or 2 years. Um, so it's like maybe there's a deal there. I know they said they're done and we're getting into the whole thing. I know Ryan Divish put out,
Yeah.
the expected roster and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yep.
I said it the last podcast and the last Mariner Monday is just, I feel like Jerry's press conference, whatever his comments made, could also just be a ruse. It could be something where it's like, I'm saying this, it's going to piss a lot of people off, but they'll forgive me later because I have something
Yeah.
cooking.
Yeah.
But they don't
Maybe.
want other teams getting in on what he's
I
going
know
after
that.
because every single deal they've been in on has been burned.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Every single one.
Let me bring up one name to you.
Okay.
And the name is going to be someone that we had hopes on,
Oh boy.
who has not been getting talked about ever since last year because he was hurt a lot and did not play a lot.
On the Mariners?
Yes. He was kind of talked about a decent amount in 2023 when we got him, kind of the high upside of him, kind of the pop
Santos?
that he has in his bat.
Oh,
No.
Pat. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The pop that he has in his bat. He's shown that he could do it at AAA, but he really has yet to show he can do it at the major league level. The pop is
Canzone?
there. Yes.
Okay.
Now, the only reason I bring him up is because I think nobody's talking about him. And I'm not saying I don't think he's going to play a major piece. But my thing is he's another guy that I'm intrigued by of what can he do when he finally gets comfortable, if that makes sense.
I
The
think it
guy
needs to
has
work
pop.
out. That dude, he's got pop,
Yeah,
but he could have so much more. He's a little noodle.
I know. But like he has, like, I don't know. I think he's just one of those guys that like he hit 287 at AAA last year.
Yeah.
Like
But
he
his
can
numbers
do
were
it.
bad.
They
And
are bad.
at
196 last year.
Yeah. I don't know
17
what's not
RBIs.
translating from Tacoma to Seattle. It's the
I
same
know.
weather. They're
I know.
both on the bay, or I don't know what you want to call it. They're all at ports. Like both
Yeah,
of those stadiums are very similar.
I know. He's just
I
one of those
mean,
names that I was kind of thinking about that nobody talks about him anymore. Like he
I
was
would
like a
rather
pretty
see
decent piece.
him up than Haniger.
Oh, 100%.
And that's
Yeah, no.
another thing that Divish put out. He mentioned Haniger would be the DH, but it's like, why not Canzone?
No. Yeah, I
His
get
numbers
Mitch.
are still better.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was again, he only had 188 plate appearances last year. This has him Okay, this is talk about projections. He has him playing in 13 games with 56 plate appearances, 241
Next year.
average, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs.
I can imagine someone's getting hurt and he gets called up and then starts putting up Roblay's numbers with more pop. But the dude needs to bulk up a little bit. He's
He
so
does.
skinny. I just saw him open his MLB debut patch card,
Yeah.
and like I shouldn't have bigger arms than him, but I do. Like I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not tall, lengthy by any means, but like
Yeah.
I'm also not training every day for my job. Like
True.
technically I am, but I'm not doing what he's doing. Like
Yeah.
he could bulk up and really he could be like he could have the frame of like Giancarlo Stanton, just hopefully he doesn't run as slow as him. It's
Yeah.
there's a possibility for gains and abilities. Maybe Brett Boone needs to hit him up and give him a secret sauce. Maybe Saucedo needs to give him the sauce. But
Yeah. Literally.
something needs to happen. Something needs to happen for Canzone to be taken seriously.
I agree.
And I hear people talk shit about him all the time, and I don't. I think it's stupid. Like they're like, "Oh, look at his batting stance." Like I was at a game and there was like somebody making fun of his front leg because he kind of like he does this
Cut
like
towards
little
the end.
curtsy thing. He's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey," and it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't
Natural.
look like he's ready to kill anybody. It's like,
No.
is it coming? Um,
Yeah.
I'm not saying change your swing, but like if you hit 25 bombs, nobody's gonna care what you're saying.
No. And
Like,
he's hit some shots before.
yeah,
Like some of his home runs at the major league level have been shots. His longest home run at the major league level was June 22nd of last year, 415 feet. That's a
yeah,
shot for
yeah,
anyone, major league level or not. That is a solid shot.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's
I mean, yeah, I just think that I bring it up because it's literally a guy that like I haven't even heard of his name once, like in anything.
it's weird.
It's very weird.
He hasn't been talked about, but neither has Austin Shenton. Nobody
True.
said a word about him, and that was the first acquisition we had of the off
Off
season.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, which is I don't know if I considered it because it's I guess technically he's MLB, but it doesn't even sound like he's going to be on the MLB roster. So it wasn't an MLB move, you know.
Yeah.
It
As
was
much as they
minor
try.
league move along with everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what they're gonna do moving forward. I really don't. Um, but you know, there there are reasons to be positive for this team as far as
Yeah.
who we have currently if they all perform like they're supposed to. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like the fact that they just didn't really try this offseason, or they say they didn't really try because they're happy with what they got, even though we know that they did try for other things, but they miserably failed.
Yeah.
The problem is like, what's the downfall if they perform like last season? Again, are you going to fire Dan Wilson and fire Edgar and blame them? Or is Jerry getting fired? Is Stanton paying attention? There's a lot of questions I have because I don't understand their idea and what their plan is because it doesn't sound like they have a plan. It
Yeah.
sounds like they're just going with what what's going on around them and then trying to
Mhm.
react really quickly, even though other teams are set up. For example, Diamondbacks and the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians, they had a plan. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna offload Josh Naylor. Do you want him? They're like, yeah, well, we have the payroll because we don't have Christian Walker. We'll take him
Yeah.
and we'll give you Sissoni. And they're like, okay, cool. Hey, Santana, we've been talking to you for multiple months. I understand you're talking to Seattle, but why don't you come back home to us and
Yeah.
we'll pay you a little bit more because we're
Mm.
making room for you specifically. And the Mariners are like, oh, it looks like they made a trade. Maybe we'll go get Santana. And 15 minutes later, he's going to Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, um, that's a little bit too much of a rant, but it's like, I wish maybe the perception of things were a little bit better so that Mariner fans can have confidence
Yep.
that there's some control to this roster where it feels like we're just scrapping the bottom of the barrel and hoping for the best options to
Yeah.
fall in our lap. And it doesn't seem like anything fell in our lap like it should have. Maybe I think Solano was a secret pickup that they capitalized, and that was a positive. If I'm going to be positive, but other than that, man, I'm concerned still,
Yeah.
very
No.
concerned, and I'm hoping Jerry's uh, what's the word? Not rusing, but just faking it. He's being playing a double agent right now. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Be nice.
oh, it's the best we can do, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any last minute news that's popped up, but I don't see anything right now.
Yeah. I didn't see anything.
Oh, officially, um, Colton decided to chime in on Ty's posts. I think he's the last one to chime in on this out of the most of the creators. So Ty asked who this person is. Colton says he doesn't know who he is. So
Yeah.
all
Haven't
right,
heard one.
yeah, nobody knows who that guy is. Jeffrey. Anyways, any final thoughts? Anything that you wanted to share? Anything that you got going on that we can spread to the world?
No, man. I mean, I did want to bring up because I was a little confused, even though you said like the Carlos Santana, Justin Turner thing is there was so many articles that felt like one of them was going to be a guaranteed lock.
Yeah,
One of them was going to be a Seattle Mariner, no matter what the case was, no matter how it went down. And
Turner
now
still could be.
he could be, but where where is he going to fit? Unless Luke is just strictly outfield, but you want Luke to get ABs. I don't know how he works in at all.
Um, assistant batting coach.
Literally, he might as well be. He'll help us.
DFA Haniger and make him your DH. Like I
Yeah,
would choose Turner all day over Haniger.
I agree.
And you know
100%.
what? Spend that money. Like
Yeah,
what is I don't know what Turner's going to be asking for, but it can't be as much as Santana because he's
no,
not the glove that
no,
Santana is. He's not a switch hitter that
no.
Santana is. Pete Alonso just got a D minus on his offseason because he demanded, didn't get it, was offered, rejected, and then came crawling back with, well, I'll give you this exclusive offer if you take me back to New York. And
Yeah,
ultimately, they were just like, nah, here's 2 years, 54 mil with an option because
take
we
it or
don't want
leave
to
it.
play this game anymore.
Yeah,
What's Justin going to do? Because he's played for 5 teams:
yeah, probably something like that.
Boston, Dodgers, Blue Jays, Mariners. There's another team in there.
There's another team in there. Oh my god, I can see it.
There's one more.
Yeah, I know what
But
you're saying. It's gonna bother
um,
me.
he doesn't have a home. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and he seems comfortable there.
he seems like he does. And
Yeah,
honestly, like what is 7 mil really gonna do to you? Like, hey John, we need 7 mil. Nothing's gonna change other than that. Maybe we'll get 16 back if someone picks up
yeah,
um Haniger's contract or makes a
yeah,
trade with us, and maybe we can get some bullpen arms. Maybe. So yeah, Santana thing, I don't think it was ever gonna happen because I think Santana truly loved being in Cleveland, but I also feel like he maybe should have re-observed the situation because when he played in Cleveland, it wasn't even the Guardians, it was the Indians. And when he played there, it was Francisco Lindor and one of the other guys that just retired.
yeah,
Well, didn't just retire, but he's gone now. But
yeah.
he's not playing for the same team. He's got a whole new
Everything.
coaching staff. He's got new teammates. He's got a new stadium. He's got a new name for the team. Same city, but whatever. Maybe he loves it. Maybe that's his home. But Turner, I don't know. I don't know. DFA Haniger and pick him up. I don't see why. I don't see why. I don't see why
Yeah,
you're hanging on to Haniger and you don't have
no,
Turner in there.
no. And you already know what type of leadership he'll bring. Not that Haniger doesn't bring anything, but you know what Turner did just coming in last year. Like
Mm-hmm.
people want to talk to Justin Turner about hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, how can I hit like you've hit your entire career? And that could have even played a part into why the offense was so good after the trade deadline. Like because he came in and was also kind of the leader in the face of like, I need help. Like, how can you help me?
Well, he's leading by
And
example too. I mean, besides the
exactly.
chest hair being exposed, he hit bombs and
No,
he
literally.
used that red madness Viking blood to smash the shit out of the ball as a righty
Yeah.
in T-Mobile Park. I always say Safeco, but in T-Mobile Park, and he was that presence because Haniger, I think, is great in the clubhouse, but nobody's going to look up to you. Can't be a leader if you don't
But
lead by example. And if you
yeah,
can't do what you propose, people are like, eh. It's
yeah,
like, are you going to take financial advice from a guy who's homeless?
no,
Me good,
good,
but I don't know if I trust him.
yeah, no, yeah,
So, um, yeah, it's very. We'll see what happens. We'll see what
yeah,
happens because a lot of these guys should not be free agents that are still free agents. Ryan Yarbrough should not still be a free agent, but he
no,
is. And pitchers and catchers
very
come
weird.
up next week.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that early next week.
There's JD Martinez is still not signed.
There's a lot of guys.
There's a lot of guys still not signed. So
Weird,
there's no reason
very
why there
weird.
might not be some last minute
Last
changes.
minute.
And I don't trust that the lineups are set. I just really don't for the Mariners because
Yeah,
I think they showed their hands too many times and they got beat out. Nico Horner is no longer available because Kyle Tucker became available.
yeah,
Santana was no longer available because Josh Naylor found a home real quick.
yeah,
There's just a lot of things where we, like you said, there was leaks and it feel like the Mariners got cutthroat
yeah,
and it screwed us over.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So
I hope there's something that adds to the offense, something that gets us a little bit more excited going into the year and a little more comfortable. But I don't know if there would be, but hope. All we can do is
we,
hope.
yeah, we hope so. Well, thanks, T, dude. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank
For the
you.
Mariner Monday, we'll definitely have this up on Monday. I made the mistake, by the way, guys, last week where we recorded on Monday, and there was no way in hell that I was recording and editing an hour and 30-minute podcast the same day. So it came out on Wednesday. So now that today is technically Saturday, you guys will get this on time.
Yep.
Join me whenever, dude. Whenever
Yeah,
you want to
absolutely.
come on, we're going to
Appreciate
talk
that.
ball. We'll have other people on next week.
Cool.
We should have 2 new faces. So
Cool.
if you're a Mariners fan, go follow East Coast M's on YouTube and also on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. The links will be down in the description. Go check him out. He's been doing this as long as I have, and
Yeah.
really we've progressed pretty much evenly, I think, at this
Yeah.
point. So
I think you're
good
quicker than
content,
subs.
good knowledge, and
Yeah.
if you're on the East Coast, he posts at your guys' time, where I'm posting on West Coast time.
Yeah.
So awesome, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
Everybody, subscribe, go like the video, go check out his stuff, and T, thanks again.
Yep. Thank you, man.